Welcome to United Network News, the official news channel for CARE, the Center for Amity and Restoration of Earth. I'm Sunny Galt. At UNN, you get the real news. Through our field messengers, we show you the truth about what's really taking place in our communities. We also bring you stories to help you remember who you are and why you're here, as well as regional stories that impact the people. And our World Situation Report reveals what's happening throughout the multiverse. We are here to restore Earth. In the U.S., it is Monday, May 27th, 2024. In Italy, we explore the Florence Artisan Fair, which gathers artists from around the region to sell their beautiful handmade goods. And in Uganda, you'll meet a local designer whose passion for sewing literally saved her shop during the pandemic lockdowns. Vaccines and other medications can leave unwanted toxins in your body. Learn more about the importance of detoxification to protect yourself. Try as they may, efforts to establish a global pandemic treaty are falling flat due to lots of disagreements within individual countries. And new legislation in Canada that claimed to help local media outlets is doing the exact opposite. Meanwhile, mainstream media are getting huge payouts.
This is Calen Gipp, messenger for United Network News. Here's a look at today's field messenger reports from all around the world. Held annually in the last week of April, the Florence Artisan Fair celebrates craftsmanship and creativity. This event gathers talented artisans from the region and beyond to showcase their exquisite handmade goods. UNN Field Messenger Toni shares her experience at the fair.
Hello, this is Toni reporting from Florence, Italy for United Network News. Today I visited the Artisan Fair, which is held every year at the end of April in the beautiful city of Florence. This annual event is always crowded with people from all over the world and is a great opportunity to see local, national and international art, crafts and other handmade products. There are a number of different buildings housing exhibitions ranging from antique restoration, craftsmanship in the theatre and goldsmithing to woodworking art. Of particular interest is the pavilion with the Italian artisan products, and on the floor below, the international stalls. One stall that particularly interested me, in the Italian section, was the Pesci Pazzarelli, or Mad Fish stall. A married couple produced these room centres, fridge magnets and wall art using all recycled materials. The wood elements come from recycled wooden pallets, the sponge parts from excess foam from furniture production, the leather, plastic, material and trims from local clothing and handbag producers, and the buttons from wherever they can find them. The sponge cubes can be sprayed with your favourite perfume or essential oil to keep rooms smelling fresh in a creative, fun way. The cubes of Marsilia laundry soap also add to the freshness. This is Toni, surveying my artisan bounty in Tuscany, Italy for United Network News.
Next, we meet a designer who blends her love for fashion with community support. She runs a training project for single mothers, empowering them to earn a sustainable income. UNN Field Messenger Dianne interviews her about the impact of her work.
Good afternoon, Dianne here from United Network News. I am in Jinja City, eastern Uganda. Today I come across a craft shop that just drew me in. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you.
Would you like to introduce yourself and tell us what the name of your shop is?
Yes, dear. Thank you. I'm Aseneta Rosemary, and I'm the owner of Asante Craft Shop.
And what does Asante mean?
Asante is a Swahili word that means thank you.
So Rose, you are a designer. and you make your own clothing. Would you like to talk to us a little bit about how you became inspired to be so?
Designing has been my passion since my childhood. I learned sewing. This is a craft shop, and we sell most of our products to tourists. But then after, when lockdown came in, it was a very difficult time, very difficult moment, that the number of tourists came down. They were nowhere, and yet they were our main clients. So I decided to focus now on sewing. I chose to do something that I can sell to even the local people without tourists. And that is what pushed me more into sewing. And now it is what I do mostly. I buy my fabrics, I come up with my designs. I sew for both men and women, kids, and whoever comes in.
Rose, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
This is Dianne, reporting from Jinja City, Eastern Uganda, for United Network News.
We want you to become a UNN field messenger. These are everyday people just like you who want to make a difference in their community. You don't need any special training or equipment. Just use the camera on your mobile phone and show us what's happening in your area. You send us your videos and our production team will create the report for you. Our new website is now up and running at unitednetwork.earth. You can submit your Field Messenger reports directly through the Field Messenger tab at the top of the page. You can also email your reports to our new email address at fieldmessenger@unitednetwork.earth.
Hey, I'm Kirsten from Switzerland.
This is Wayne from Tucson.
Hi, my name is Desmond from Ghana.
I am Claudia from Dawsonville, Georgia.
I'm Mikey from Pretoria, South Africa.
Hi, I'm Steve McGrath, Fort McMurray, Alberta, Canada.
People from all around the world are coming together.
Happy day, beautiful world. We are here in a rather small urban garden, and this video is just to show you the joys that we've had in this garden with the electric gardening.
When news happens in their area, they show us what's really going on.
We have people in the streets protesting for and against.
At United Network News, our field messengers are changing the face of news.
This is Field Messenger Helen reporting with nature, and I'm going to talk to you about the bees again.
Take the next step in restoring our planet. Become a UNN Field Messenger today.
Hi, I'm Stephanie from South Africa. If it's going to be, it's up to me.
If it's going to be, it's up to me.
It's up to me.
It's up to me. It's up to me.
It's up to me.
It's up to all of us. We're UNN, and we're taking back the news.
Every day, our planet is becoming more and more light. And that means it's getting harder for the dark to deceive humanity. We were told that vaccines recommended by our government are safe and effective. That's not true, as we saw with the recent COVID jabs. Dr. Anna Michalcha is a board-certified internal medicine physician with a PhD in pathology and 20 years of clinical experience. So Dr. Anna is joining us now. And Dr. Anna, as you know, humanity has been through a lot in the last few years. We have been, many of us, forced to take quote-unquote medicine that may not be the best thing for our bodies. And a lot of us felt like we had to do that for whatever reason. We had to do that, or we trusted someone maybe we shouldn't have trusted. And now many people are in a position now where either, they're starting to learn the truth of what really happened, over the last few years, and they may want to rectify that. They may want to take action to make their bodies as healthy as they can possibly be. And we know through detoxification that we can do we can do some things that can help our bodies. So let's talk about that a little bit. What can we do if we find ourselves in this situation?
Absolutely. So first of all, what people need to understand is that this is affecting every single human being on planet Earth, because the shots, the C-19 bioweapon, they actually shed to the unvaccinated. And what we found in the live blood is that the self-assembling nanotechnology is now in everyone. We found micro robots. We find, these polymer plastics. And so this is very important because Clifford Carnicom and I, we've done research that shows that this technology hijacks our life force and electricity and hence causes this clumping or clotting of the blood. So there are molecules that give electricity, so they can help with symptoms like this chronic fatigue or heart palpitation or brain fog, which is basically an accelerated aging because the life force is being hijacked. The light is being, siphoned out of people. So what happens is, for example, molecules like vitamin C in high enough doses, there are chelators for metals that we're, for example, inhaling from geoengineering as well as that we found in these shots. And it also gives electricity back to the body. Molecules like methylene blue, which is an ultraviolet blue dye, has been shown to actually bind to these hydrogel plastics that are now found everywhere in bottled water, in the food supply, in the shots. And so that can be helpful to also decontaminate people, as well as it's an electron donor, so it gives electricity to the cell. EDTA is a fascinating molecule that binds also to heavy metals, and in the Moderna patent is mentioned as an antidote that would inhibit the formation and proliferation of these nanoparticles. And so EDTA together with vitamin C can be used to help with this. And EDTA is something that can be also taken over the counter. It can be given as an intravenous infusion, and I found it extremely helpful to declump the blood and to help people symptomatically. Other things are, for example, you make fulvic acid, which is something that is created when forests decompose, and it's been shown to detoxify graphene. So we have a number of molecules that are helpful. Nattokinase can help with microclotting. So by putting these kinds of formulations together, this is very important. And I encourage people to look at my Substack, Anna Mihalcha, MD, PhD.substack.com, because my research is extensive. If people don't believe this, they can look at the own microscopy and see that these micro robots are there blinking in human blood, changing colors from red to blue to green, and that isn't supposed to be there. This is technology.
Yeah. So you mentioned shedding, and I want to talk about that just a little bit more because I'm glad you brought that up. Because a lot of us think, well, we haven't taken the jab, we're going to be okay. But you said that there are other ways that they, I think they figured out that not everyone's going to take the jab, right? So it's getting to us in different ways, through our water, through our food supply, through the air, right? So let's talk about shedding from the vaccines. What exactly is that? Because
let me explain that. So in the Pfizer documents, it actually says that if a man who's unvaccinated inhales the air around a vaccinated woman, he can transfer that vaccination to another unvaccinated woman. So just breathing the air around somebody who's vaccinated can shed the vaccine to others. We know about women who started with menstrual, hemorrhaging, who are unvaxxed, just being close to somebody who's vaccinated. I now have seen unvaccinated people with turbo cancers, extreme blood clots that are huge, as long as an entire leg. And the blood changes that we see in the live blood is exactly the same. So nanotechnology acts like a gas. It can enter through our skin and we can inhale it. And so this is how it can contaminate us.
Okay. So we have to protect ourselves regardless, everybody out there needs to do this. Have you heard about blue spaces? Just like green spaces with parks and forests, blue spaces are areas along ocean fronts, rivers, and lakes that have a positive impact on our physical and emotional well-being. Beaches, parks, and walking paths along the water encourage physical activity and a healthier lifestyle. Being near water also improves respiratory health, especially for those with conditions like asthma or seasonal allergies. Research suggests spending time near water can reduce stress and improve one's mood and emotional health. Engaging in activities like swimming, boating, and surfing can boost confidence, happiness, and physical well-being. Spending time in a blue space can make a positive difference, so the next time you're looking for a place to relax or exercise, consider heading to the nearest body of water. A recent survey has revealed the sighting of more than a dozen blue whales around the Seychelles area. marking the first such occurrence since 1966. Marine biologists have described this discovery as phenomenal, noting it as a significant milestone in the recovery of the world's largest animal. Heavy hunting had plagued the region since the 1960s, but regulations to deter hunting were only put in place in 1973. The survey, conducted by a partnership of 4 universities, reported 5 sightings of groups of up to 10 blue whales. Using images, the team confirmed none of the whales had been previously recorded. In total, the survey identified 23 whale species with peak activity observed from December to April, suggesting the waters of the Seychelles are an excellent habitat for whales. These remarkable findings give hope that marine conservation and protection are having a positive impact on these magnificent creatures. In a city in the Netherlands, a clever solution has been devised to help migrating fish navigate through a closed lock during spraying. Noticing that fish gathered in front of the closed lock, ecologists installed an underwater camera that streams footage online. Viewers can watch the stream and click a digital doorbell if they spot fish needing passage. This action alerts the lock keeper, who receives a screenshot and can open the lock. The initiative allows up to 950 viewers to participate in the fish doorbell system at a time. The stream showcases various fish species like perch, eels, pike perch, roach, bream, and a diving gray heron occasionally. Viewing the stream at night is also recommended since many fish prefer migrating in darkness to avoid predators. This innovative approach helps fish reach their spawning grounds and encourages the community to participate in ecological conservation efforts. We are United Network News. Every day, we release real stories from real people all over the world.
Field Messenger reporting from Gold Coast, Australia,
Denmark,
Canada,
Uganda,
from Atlanta, in Southern California.
In their own words, people like you share what's really happening in their area. At UNN, you are the news. You are creating a new world with infinite possibilities. You are the restoration plan. Come join us for the real news every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, only on United Network. We're UNN, and we're taking back the news. Two years into discussions, efforts to establish a global treaty to combat pandemics have stalled. The World Health Organization aimed to finalize the draft at its annual meeting in Geneva, but fell short. They say the treaty is needed to ensure fair distribution of resources and prevent future virus outbreaks, but rich and poor countries hit a deadlock. Disagreements over sharing pathogen data and production rights of pandemic-related products remains unresolved. Both the U.S. and British authorities have raised concerns about national interests and intellectual property rights, complicating negotiations. Developing countries highlighted the unfairness of providing virus samples without affordable access to resulting vaccines. All 18-year-olds in Britain might face a year of mandatory national service if the Conservative Party wins the July 4th national election. This would mark the first time national service is reintroduced in Britain in more than 60 years. Around 30,000 young people would serve in military roles like logistics or cyber defense, while the rest would engage in community service 1 weekend a month, aiding charities or public services. The Prime Minister believes this will foster unity and national pride amongst the youth. However, it is still unclear how the program will be enforced. Critics claim the £2.5 billion or $3.2 billion plan is a desperate measure from a party struggling in polls. The sudden election date has surprised many, and the Conservatives face significant challenges to retain power. France has announced a new plan to reduce jobless benefits as part of the president's economic reform agenda. The maximum duration of welfare will be cut from 18 to 15 months, and the period of work required to qualify for benefits will be increased. These changes are intended to encourage more French citizens to enter the workforce, which in turn would fund the benefits system. Although not primarily aimed at saving costs, the reforms are expected to generate significant savings and bring 90,000 more people into employment. Workers 57 years old and above will be considered senior and will receive improved benefits, though less generous than before. The reforms, set to start on December 1st, have sparked controversy, with critics arguing they unfairly impact workers. European Union ministers are urging Brussels to tighten rules on multinational companies. These companies charge different prices for the same branded products, costing consumers an estimated 14 billion euros or $15 billion each year. 8 governments will present a proposal to the European Commission seeking to ban parallel trading restrictions, which prevent retailers from purchasing cheaper products from the other member states. Smaller countries like Belgium and Greece support an explicit ban on contracts with territorial supply constraints and the use of QR codes for product labels. A study found these constraints affect 1 in 25 products, inflating prices by 10% on average. The Dutch economy minister emphasized the need to remove trade barriers for fair consumer prices. The competition commissioner says current practices are illegal and hinted at more cases under investigation. Authorities in Brazil's southernmost state have reported 54 cases of leptospirosis following catastrophic floods in April and May. The waterborne disease spread through contaminated water has caused 4 deaths. The state's health department is investigating 800 more suspected cases. The floods have killed more than 165 people and left more than 2.3 million affected. About 581,000 residents are displaced, with 55,000 housed in temporary shelters. The floods originated from unprecedented rainfall and a hydroelectric dam collapse in early May. Leptospirosis symptoms include fever, muscle aches, and nausea. Residents are warned against consuming potentially contaminated water or food. Critics blame the government for poor environmental policies for aggravating the crisis. Recycled soil and turf products sold in garden stores in Sydney, Australia, may pose serious health risks due to contamination. Laboratory results found asbestos fibers in crusher dust, classifying it as hazardous asbestos waste under New South Wales laws. The recycled soil exceeded pH levels set by the Environment Protection Authority, or EPA, while the turf underlay contains physical contaminants like electrical wire and glass. Although tests for pesticides and carcinogenic chemicals showed no alarming levels, variability in material composition raises concerns about overall safety. The lack of transparency and documentation means consumers are often unaware of potential risks. The EPA has issued prevention notices to facilities with asbestos in stockpiles and is considering regulatory changes. However, without detailed product information at the point of sale, the end users who are most at risk remain vulnerable. Also in Australia, the Queensland government has launched a trial to significantly reduce public transport fares. Commuters will now be able to travel for a mere 50 cents per trip. This initiative aims to encourage a shift from private card usage to public transport, with potential savings reaching hundreds or even thousands of dollars annually for some families. The trial is seen as a major step toward making public transport more affordable and helping reduce traffic congestion. If successful, there is potential for the reduced fares to become permanent. However, concerns remain about the potential for overcrowded services and whether the frequency and reliability of public transport will improve. As the trial progresses, its impact on commuter habits, household budgets, and overall traffic congestion will be closely monitored. China's once booming real estate sector is facing a severe downturn, leaving many workers struggling to make ends meet. Salespeople who previously sold millions in property are now resorting to alternative means, like selling health supplements to survive. Professionals in the industry are experiencing job instability with numerous layoffs and dwindling job offers. The decline in new home sales is drastic, with major real estate companies reporting significant drops in revenue. Rental yields in major cities have plummeted, reducing investor interest. Protests over housing issues make a notable portion of the country's demonstrations, reflecting widespread discontent. Local governments have started to relax curbs on property buying to stimulate the market. The Chinese government is focusing on building affordable homes and renovating urban areas, with substantial funding allocated for these initiatives. A town in Japan has built a large fence to block the view of Mount Fuji in response to overwhelming tourist disruptions. The 2.5 meter or 8.2 feet high fence covered in black mesh has spoiled the backdrop for countless selfies. Famous for offering spectacular views of the mountain, the town has grown weary of tourists blocking pavements and halting traffic for the perfect shot. Visitors' poor manners, such as littering, jaywalking, or trespassing, has led to this drastic measure. Despite the fence, tourists can find other photo spots in the region. Meanwhile, other popular tourist destinations have also taken steps to curb overwhelming tourist numbers. For example, a trail to the Mount Fuji summit now limits climbers to 4,000 per day, with fees introduced for hiking and conservation. The Seoul Metropolitan Government has announced children's accessories from AliExpress and Shein have been found to contain toxic metals exceeding permitted levels. Chemical safety tests revealed hazardous chemicals in 2 items, a children's watch from Shein and a necklace from AliExpress. The watch had lead levels 278 times above the limit and elevated chromium and nickel levels, while the necklace pendant had lead levels 1.2 times above the standard. Lead can disrupt the reproductive system and increase cancer risks, while chromium and nickel are linked to allergies, respiratory issues, and cardiovascular diseases. The Seoul government is conducting further safety tests on children's items and other products from major Chinese e-commerce platforms and will share the results to ensure consumer safety. The Philippines' recent court ruling to overturn the approval of golden rice has sparked a heated debate. Golden rice, a genetically engineered crop developed to combat vitamin A deficiency, was approved for commercial cultivation in the Philippines in 2021. However, Greenpeace and local farmers successfully campaigned for the Court of Appeal to revoke this approval, citing safety concerns. Scientists argue golden rice is safe and essential to saving lives. Greenpeace insists golden rice could harm farmers' livelihoods and suggests focusing on traditional farming and food supplementation as alternative solutions. The ruling is expected to deter other countries like India and Bangladesh from adopting golden rice. The Philippine government plans to challenge this decision. Thousands of sub-Saharan migrants in Tunisia are facing increasing challenges as the country ramps up expulsions. Recently, migrants have been forcefully taken to borders with Libya and Algeria, practices described as desert dumps. While collective expulsions have been common in Algeria, Libya, and Mauritania, Tunisia has seen a surge in such practices. These expulsions, increasingly systematic, often result in urban detentions before migrants are transported to border regions. A recent report revealed the Tunisian National Guard's involvement with funding from European countries. The new migration policies stem from concerns about demographic changes, prompting a nationwide crackdown. This has seen many sub-Saharan families harassed, evicted, and detained without reason. Efforts to control migration have been increased by significant financial support from the European Union, despite human rights activists condemning these practices as illegal. The Zambian government's decision to require online media licensing has sparked significant concern amongst rights activists. They argue this move infringes on freedom of expression. The revision of the Independent Broadcasting Authority Act aims to regulate online broadcasting and podcasts. The government claims the new law will combat cybercrime, promote cybersecurity skills, and encourage responsible social media use without stifling freedoms. However, critics say regulating online media conflicts with democratic principles and could silence online activities. Supporters believe the measure could reduce misinformation and ensure credible information. The amended law mandates an annual operating license fee for online broadcasting companies. SpaceX's satellite internet service Starlink is imposing restrictions on its satellite internet services in regions where it is not authorized, including conflict zones like Sudan. Despite warnings of service cuts starting April 30th of 2024, many users in South Africa, Sudan, and other affected areas continue to access the internet. Starlink has advised customers using the service outside licensed areas to switch accounts or risk disconnection. An online poll showed 73% of South African users could still connect post-cutoff. However, humanitarian efforts in Sudan may suffer due to these restrictions, which undermine emergency communications essential for survival. Local Starlink shops, often run by paramilitary forces, are being shut down, affecting residents' access. SpaceX has not responded to requests for comments. Canada's Online News Act is significantly impacting local media outlets. Passed in June of 2023, the legislation requires big tech companies to pay for Canadian content. A recent study found that 84% drop in engagement for local Canadian outlets, which is primarily due to Meta's decision to block Canadian news links on Facebook and Instagram. And the Now Media Group is reporting a 70% audience loss and a 50% revenue drop. Small publishers are facing severe visibility issues as many have left Facebook entirely. While local publishers suffer, larger media outlets benefit from substantial payouts, including Google's $100 million agreement. Trust in mainstream media, however, is waning, with only a third of Canadians considering it trustworthy. Last week, the U.S. Justice Department and more than 24 states sued Live Nation and its Ticketmaster unit. They alleged the company inflated concert ticket prices and harmed artists. The Department of Justice claims Live Nation's monopolistic practices mean fans pay more, artists have fewer chances to perform, and smaller promoters are excluded. Live Nation manages more than 400 musical artists and controls 60% of concert promotions at major venues, with Ticketmaster handling around 80% of primary ticketing for big venues. The company countered, saying the lawsuit will not solve ticket pricing issues and is politically motivated. Critics support the lawsuit, claiming live events have become unaffordable for many Americans. Bark Air, a new airline emphasizing canine comfort, will launch its first flight on Thursday, departing from New York to Los Angeles. Founded by Bark, a pet company established in 2011, the service aims to make air travel stress-free for dogs. The airline's debut flight is already sold out, highlighting strong demand. Bark Air's dog first approach, I should say, includes treats, noise canceling earmuffs, and social spaces for dogs, contrasting the often stressful conditions of commercial flights. Initially, the service targets routes between New York, Los Angeles, and London. But get this, priced at $6,000 for a New York to Los Angeles ticket and $8,000 for New York to London. Each dog ticket includes a pass for one human companion. The company believes prices will drop as demand increases, potentially making this premium service more accessible to pet owners over time. Now, with United TV, you can have it all for only $15.99 a month. Thousands of live TV channels, 60,000 movies on demand, over 30 languages, and live sports from around the globe. Go to unitedtv.org and check it out. And now, the World Situation Report with Kimberly Gogan from the Office of the Guardian. How many celestials are on Earth? What is the importance of celestials? What you do does affect the universe. Humans have been used to power AI systems. Major changes over the weekend will have a huge impact on all of humanity. Ever wonder why energies go crazy during a full moon, new moon, or an eclipse? The mystery of why the deep state always tries to regain control during alignments revealed. All this and more as we check in with Kim for today's World Situation Report. Now here's Kimberly Gogan with the Office of the Guardian. Hello, Kim. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. Happy Memorial Day.
Happy Memorial Day
here in
to
the
you
U.S.
too.
And to all of you too. Got any plans today, Sunny?
Some of the neighbors are getting together for a little bit of a barbecue with the kids. All of our kids play together, in the neighborhood. And so, yeah, for those of us that don't have family nearby, we're each other's family on these holidays. So, yeah.
That's great, though.
Yeah, it's fun.
Get out, get a little sun, probably eat
Yes.
too much food,
Yeah.
as us Americans do on this day.
True.
Well, speaking of, I guess not just Americans, we have a lot of stuff to cover today. And a lot of it has absolutely nothing to do with the deep state. But there's a little bit of an explanation, I guess, that does involve them somewhat.
Okay.
So a lot of people have been asking just how many celestials we still have on Earth.
Right.
And the answer to the question is, not including Earth itself, around 8 billion.
Okay.
That's right. Probably a little bit more due to the fact not all celestials are human.
Right.
But human beings that are born of Earth are pretty much all celestials in some way, shape, or form. Now, as far as the Merovingians versus the Melchizedeks versus the Black Sun, there is a little bit of a difference. There is a stronger connection there. Therefore, you're able to retain more of your essence, energy, consciousness, matter, and frequency on whichever side of the great game that you are playing on. Mm-hmm. So on their side of it, they are able to retain more dark consciousness, dark matter, dark frequency, all of those types of things. And we're able to retain more light. Now, at any given time, someone on either side can choose a side. So in other words, they have the capability of retaining more of either or than the average person at this time. Now, it wasn't always this way. In the very beginning, as far as humans inhabiting Earth, we were all equal. And we will all become equal once again. It's definitely going to be a process. And with being able to retain all of your energy, essence, consciousness, and so on and so forth, comes great responsibility. without governors, without anything holding you back. And I want to explain this to you now because it's starting to happen. And by great responsibility, I mean that everything you do can actually create or even destroy universes. Celestials are very powerful beings. Now, other than Source, only those that are inhabitants of Earth, and not necessarily those that have come here from other places, but they do play a role as far as anchoring the light and anchoring essence, and they are very important. But as a celestial, you have the ability to co-create with Source, which is ultimately unique. And being a co-creator on the keystone for all universes is huge.
Yeah.
And when I've told you before that you're powerful, I don't think you realize just how powerful you are. Now, since we are in a golden age, since we are eradicating whatever's left of darkness, since we are making all of these changes, you should be able to only create positive things. You should be able to create for the light and with the light and no longer have a darkness side of you, which is positive. And everybody has it. So I know there'll probably be people watching this saying, oh, I have no darkness in me. I am this and I am that. But that is absolutely not true because we all have it. Even the Melchizedeks, Merovingians, everybody has a little bit of it. It's just which side you choose. And honestly, on any given day, that can change.
Sure.
You're being constantly influenced or being thrown negative energies and wounds and hurtful statements by other people and those types of things that can absolutely muddy your waters or your sea, your own personal sea. Yeah. Now, there's a lot of other things that came to light over the weekend that is going to make a whole lot of sense to you once you kind of understand it. So as a celestial, which side you choose is which source you would have fed when there were three sources. So you have anti-source, neutral source, and source itself. You also had alpha and omega systems at a time. So some of it you had a choice, and some of it they made it so you didn't have a choice as to which thing you fed. Now, it sounds kind of, how do I say this? Almost egotistical in a way when you say that you are actually responsible in part, not in whole, but in part, for how much source existed in this universe. But you are, as is Earth, as is your shared energy, essence, consciousness, wisdom that you share with Earth as being a part of Earth, as a co-creator. Now, Earth itself is also a co-creator, but it's heavily influenced by its inhabitants, which is why everybody is so focused on the restoration of Earth, which is why we have all these folks coming here trying to help us co-create a better universe throughout time. Now, the growth rate of humanity is extremely important in this. As far as people, and I hate to use the term, almost use the term waking up, but I prefer to use the term remembering who you are. And they've made our societal structures, our media, everything you could possibly imagine, interference, creation of disease, all of these types of things, all directly relates to these programs that kept you from co-creating in a positive way 100%. Now, as a celestial, you are a prized possession of the universe. And they would use you in so many ways to create things for them. And I've been saying this for a long time, and it just wasn't the right time to get people to understand this. So some of these programs were actually designed to have an equal balance of creation. So the deep state, the ones that do all these horrible things, all these kind of things, you know, a lot of that is to sway humanity to living in their way.
Mm-hmm.
We also try to do the same thing on our side, where we try to sway humanity to living in a positive way.
Right.
And it's almost impossible based on the structures that we live in, which is why care is so important, because it's designed to change those structures for everyone, therefore co-creating a wonderful universe for all.
Mm-hmm.
So, but, you know, as much as I, let's just say, strongly disliked all of the structures that Marduk put in place, some of them I kind of started to understand this weekend a little bit more. Why we could become so dangerous. So at a time, you know, before we started on this journey, Earth was very dark. Everything in our society was structured dark. Money had curses, energy had curses, everything was cursed. Therefore, the majority of humans actually lived with a lot of dark consciousness and a lot of dark energy in your person. You know, disappointment in other people, disappointment in governments, disappointment in, you know, I mean, it's not necessarily like you were Jeffrey Dahmer or anything like that. You're not a serial killer, but, you know, you're not that evil. You're not eating babies like they do and those types of things. But, you know, fear, guilt, shame.
Yeah.
Oh, God, the whole structure of our society is meant to inflict guilt and shame. You know, whether it's, you know, you shame your own self a lot, you know, your body, what you eat, or I shouldn't have ate that, and oh, look what happened, or I didn't do this for my kids today. I might have done 9,999 things for my kids, but I forgot that one. And oh my gosh, and how much guilt and shame do you feel for that? So, you know, there's a lot of different ways we feel we have projected some darkness, you know, depression, you know, maybe you served in the military and there's some depression that goes along with that. Traumatic experiences that happen to you that are not your fault. Some things as, you know, as a young child, you know, some things in relationships with friends, coworkers, you know, whatever it is, everything is designed and structured for us to have darkness within us.
Mm-hmm.
And the key to success, as we explained several months back, is that to remove that dark spot, remove the old trauma, remove the old, you know, wounds, so to speak, on every level. So you're not possessing darkness either consciously or subconsciously, whether you know it or not. It's the same reason why both the alt media and the media are clouded with a lot of fear and a lot of disgust. You know, our society is kind of trained itself in the fact that it loves drama. You know, a lot of people, you know, it's probably if you look around your family and friends, you know, people love drama. They love it when, you know, so and so is exposed or something like that, and they reel from it. If so and so was arrested, or, you know, so and so did this, and it's on the news. So, you know, these are all things that kind of edge you towards that side. Now, edging you towards that side has a lot of side effects to it, and I'm going to explain to you why, and it's going to be a lot of information to absorb, but the more you listen, maybe listen once or twice, the more you understand how it worked, the more you'll understand the opposite of that when we go over that. When I say what it means to be a celestial, and how we were used in the wrong way, and why Earth was so important. Okay, so there were two matrices here, which had a definitive purpose for the extraction of your essence, energy, consciousness, the degradation of your matter, which is your person, lowering of your frequency or increasing of your frequency would be another. Controlling your life and death. There are programs for that. Live versus evil. In other words, the protection of life versus evil. You also had programs in dark energy that was designed to, whether it was true or not, to see a holographic world based on what age we were in. Also to increase or decrease dark time within yourself. So a lot of different factors came into play with these two matrices. And the first one I'm going to talk about is a Sun, Mercury, Earth matrix. So the Sun, Earth, Mercury matrix was designed based on specific alignments. This is why Mercury retrograde and all of these things, and electronics start going wild. And it was designed to connect during certain periods. It happens about 4 times a year, I think, on average, to where the energy of the sun, the energy, it's not just energy, it's all of those factors we just talked about. So I should probably type those in. I'll do that so that we can remember them all. Okay, here we go.
And our whiteboard is back, everybody.
I know, I'm trying here. Haven't used it in a while. I'm rusty, guys. Okay, there we go. So we have the factors. We have life, energy, consciousness, and we have your matter, so your physical presence, the meat suit, your vessel, your avatar, your frequency, or increase your vibe, right?
Yeah.
And then we have your ages. So this would be dark ages. Whoops. I'll get used to it again, guys. This would also apply to timelines. So we have crystalline time and anti-crystalline time. But we also have time itself. Dark, light, and neutral. Oops.
I think there's some misspellings there, Kim.
It's what makes me who I am, Sonny. I'm trying to type with a little pen on
a
tiny little keyboard over here, and
we're hanging on every little letter you write. We're all spell checking you at the same time.
Oh God, the pressure! Oh God, the pressure! Okay, so each one of these things had a neutral factor, a dark factor, and a light factor, which existed within you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, most things that are dark or neutral or dual would have been synthetic. These are programs from a computer system.
Mm-hmm.
But in order for life over there to exist, meaning dark life in neutral life, we even had neutral life, in order for these things to exist or coexist with us, we as celestials were responsible for creating them.
Okay.
Now, this matrix was one of two that was critical to that creation. So during certain times, such as Mercury retrograde and other alignments, solar eclipse, lunar eclipses, those types of things, that would have a direct effect on the all that is keystone that we live on, called Earth, as well as your person. So they would use this matrix in I'm going to say in an inhumane way, in order to siphon every single one of these factors, which combined total made up your life force of your being, out of you at certain times of the day, in certain times of the year. And it didn't necessarily need an alignment to make it happen. It would just have more capacity during those alignment times. This is why, okay, so when we start out life on this planet as a celestial, on average, 1/3 of each one of these things, so your energy, essence, life, consciousness, so on and so forth, is siphoned from you by these matrices. The second matrix being the moon, earth, and sun matrix. So these were kind of interconnected in a lot of ways. The reason why throughout different times of the day and different moon cycles and different Mercury cycles, and you would feel drained. You feel like you need to take a nap all the time.
Yeah.
Because you are essentially fed by Earth, and Earth is fed by the sun, all of these factors. And then the sun then connects to the central sun, which then it's fed by on all sides at the time. So fed by neutral, fed by dark, fed by light. And it was in order to originally create a balanced universe of both light and dark, which we all successfully created at one point in time. Now, the program that I'm telling you about right now, and I will continue telling you about, was designed to create a unified celestial population of Earth, where everybody had enough understanding of what their role was. Now, 1/3 of all that is generated in a human per day during daylight hours, because this predominantly takes place when the sun is in your area of the world.
Okay.
Then at night, while you sleep, it siphons out the 1/3, hence the moon in the sky. So one is feeding, one is taking away, and then there's a certain amount of the sun's energy that was taken away via the corona as well. But if both our side, meaning the Melchizedek side, and the Merovingian side, and the Black Sun side, those that erred on the side of darkness, and all humans on Earth, understood the balance, the delicate balance of universes and how we're responsible for creating them collectively as a united force, we wouldn't be in this situation right now. Hence, the original reason for me being here was to create balance.
Yeah.
Now, the other way we could have done this is to sway the majority of humans walking this earth, educate them. I hate to use the term waking up. Help them remember who they are and what they do and the importance of all of these factors, and go against the science because the science is wrong. And therefore, we met with so much resistance in doing this. we could have turned the tide and corrected the imbalance. Now, also other things hampering us is the siphoning out of energy, siphoning out of life, essence, you name it, it was being siphoned out of you constantly. Now, by the time you hit your mid-50s, that number increases. That's why as we get older, you have an increased amount of disease.
Why would they choose that time? Is there something significant about that time?
Well, you're past the age of 40 and therefore you're gaining more wisdom. You're operating on an extensive amount of experience, life experience, because I wouldn't even call it knowledge. Life experience tells you this is the way to go, that's the way to go. This is how you could be, this is how these things are possible. So they don't want you to gain too much wisdom because God forbid you remember who you are and what you can do. They divide us in every way possible, branding us with labels. And people, the people who love drama also love to judge everyone around them, Look at the car Sunny pulled up in when she picked up her kids. Ew, or something like that. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
So that was where we started this journey 3 or 4 years ago. We started this journey with coming out, talking to everybody we could talk to, trying to get people to understand if we stand united, there is nothing that can come against us on the side of the light, which is true. And now the dark side also tries to do the same thing. And thus far, because more people believe what is on mainstream media, more people believe their commercials, more people, I call them commercials because they are, even people that try to dip their toes into the alternative media world are getting a lot of that too. And it's the same narrative across the board. And no matter where you go, it's this president, this, if you don't have an iPhone, you're not by the time you're 12 years old, you're not a human,
Yeah.
All of those things divide us. Now, we all have different cultures. We speak different languages. Think about the great lengths that they have gone to remove our telepathic communication powers, all of those things. And then the people that do communicate like that, they call them crazy people and they put them in a room and they start, in a straitjacket and all kinds of medications and make them eat red checkers. And even our own families, we've gone through this. We have felt the stress and the pain of saying, look, there's no way this could be this way. That doesn't even make any sense. But because insert newscaster here said it so, then that makes it so.
Yeah.
So we've tried everything we could within the balanced system to regain balance until the tides had turned to such a point where we were no longer trying to regain balance. Even this weekend, the archivist met with, and also with Tom, they met with a number of groups with NATO, a lot of the global headquarters people, and they spent 10 hours in meetings trying to tell these people they're no longer going to exist if they continue on this path. But once I learned that, and I kind of understood a little bit more about, light source competing with dark source, competing with neutral source, and then all together they kind of make up, and I know this is going to sound funny, but the OG, right? The original, the original source of which at the beginning of all creation, and it even says it in all your books, right? In the beginning, there was light. That's what it says. And that's true. There was only light. There was no separation between the two or between the three, and then Earth was created, and then life was then created on Earth to co-create with Earth and utilize the keystone to make all these changes in the universe. So the ultimate decision was made because at the time we also not only had crazy humans on Earth trying to co-create darkness and dark life, we also had lots of other species that were completely dark, that were wanting to take the keystone. And they had human partners that were willing to help them do it. Zero concept of balance, chance after chance, century after century, timeline after timeline, and still no balance. So even as far as this weekend, the archivist tried to tell them, look, you're going to no longer exist here if you don't start complying with what we're doing here. And they were being watched heavily. And what did they do? Sure as heck, I'm running around the planet, in London, Wales actually, and several other locations where they're holding those black crystals and trying to raise the dead, trying to create darkness. Where is our Omega? Where is our darkness? We need the darkness. We need to fight on our side. We're not supposed to be fighting, you idiots. We're on the side of Source doing what Source wants. Whether you're pitch hitting for the dark side or you're pitch hitting for the light side, if we actually became unified, and I'm not saying I want to have this happen, but it's too late now anyway. But if we actually had become unified and you understood balance, then you would be powerful too.
Yeah.
We would be doing our job.
Mm-hmm.
But you just don't get it.
No.
Now, so every evening, as the moon rises in your particular area, over 1/3 of your life, essence, energy, consciousness, physical matter, frequency, time is siphoned out of your body. That's why you get tired at night. When the sun goes down, you're no longer, and I hate to put it in these terms, but you're no longer feeding, you're no longer receiving that energy that every good little battery needs, because you're a battery, you're a celestial. So when the sun goes down and the moon comes up, the siphoning begins. That's why you're sleeping, because during this time, because you actually require less energy in a sleep state, because it's predominantly your limbic system that is still functioning, because obviously you're still breathing, you're still salivating, you're still digesting, your basic, you go into almost kind of semi-stasis mode for a short period of time. Now, the less sleep mode you get, and then you wake up and you feel groggy, you feel tired, you get brain fog. It takes 10 cups of coffee to get your body moving in the morning or whatever it is, because this happens from time to time. Maybe we're overworked, we work late, we can't sleep, there's problems on our mind, whatever it is. So during the time of the siphon, which is what the moon was responsible for, you not getting enough sleep means you're still expending that energy during the siphon time. Which is why sometimes, even when you get a lack of sleep like this, you either A, take a nap during the day if you have the luxury of doing that, B, the more time you spend in the sun, or the more time the sun is up in your particular area, and as the day goes on, the better you typically feel, because now you're regaining that energy. But the sun's energy was siphoned off as well. So you're still only getting 1/3 of the sun's energy. Earth also only got 1/3 of the sun's energy. And the other 1/3 of Earth's energy came from you. So interesting.
That also makes sense as to why sometimes if you don't get enough sleep and you try to make up for it the next day, it's still not the same. You still kind of have that groggy kind of feeling. It's not like you're really making up for it. You might feel a little bit better just to kind of get you through that day, but the older I get, the more like days I need to compensate for a lack of sleep, you know?
Yeah.
But that makes sense.
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's like anything you do, the older you get, right? Now, the reason why it's the older you get is because as a spring chicken and a little child, you're getting the 1/3. You're getting the 1/3 and you're giving, 1/3. So you retain a certain amount. You retain 2/3 of what you get. But as you get older, that increases. So you ever wonder why, like, when you were 20 years old, you could go to work or school or whatever on 2 hours of sleep? You might need a cup of coffee or whatever. You're fine throughout the day, no problem. Brain's there, you're all alert, the whole thing, everything's functioning very well. But as you get older, they increase the amount they take from you. And that causes the degeneration. Isn't that crazy?
Gosh, yeah, we were just told that, you're just getting older. This is just part of life, you know?
Oh, yeah, but it's not.
Yeah.
Therefore, disease increases, all kinds of things increase in your body, but heck, you go out and you have a glass of wine or something with dinner and it takes you 2 days to get over it. The older you get, it's not like before, when you were, a young person, but your body has a lot longer recovery time now, hence the reason why you also need more sleep. Now, more sleep is directly related to the amount of hours of daylight in a day wherever you are. So the reason why depression increases in the wintertime, the reason why you tend to go to bed earlier in the wintertime because there's no sun. Days are shorter. And it's also the reason why you see a lot more people active in the summertime. Now, when you're younger, it doesn't bother you as much. But because you're getting less of the available energy from Earth and from the sun, as you get older, because it was by design, and we can talk about the bad part about this in a minute, because it was by design, you might find yourself going to bed at 8 o'clock or 6 o'clock or something, during the wintertime versus staying up several hours, working in the garden or whatever till the sun goes down or you can't see anymore. It's a totally different feeling during summer months, wherever you are in the world, versus winter months. Now, there is a lot of talk on the internet about people discussing how Earth was and that all of Earth was a tropical environment. Remember this? If you've been searching around on the internet looking for history of Earth or history of the world, so much so they ensured, this is all part of the same program, they ensured that Earth's magnetic pole and our axis is not the same as it was then. A few let's destroy the Earth harvest programs ago, they decided to make sure it was always winter with short days somewhere and always summer somewhere, allegedly to create balance, because we certainly couldn't live in a stable climate 24 every day of the year and equal to the sun, and then way everybody's getting equal sun all the time. Oh, no, that's not what they wanted, right? Interesting. How it all ties together. It was fascinating to learn about how they actually structured it. Now, the moon. Let's talk about the moon. So around the moon, in the pathway of the moon, in Earth's orbit, we had what we would call space stations. And as the Earth travels as the moon, wrong way. As the moon travels around the Earth every single day, and the Earth travels around the sun with the secondary matrix, there were certain groups and certain species that were fed as the moon aligned with one of these, what I call an anti-space station, or you could call it a Death Star, or you could call it, whatever it was feeding at that time. So when the Earth is still partially gaining energy from the sun, which means that, we are looking at not a new moon, not a full moon. It's still getting that partial energy from elsewhere. We would be looking at less of a siphon or more of a siphon or more of a feed to the third party entity with one of these 65 space stations that were around Earth. So we fed a lot. We fed both the alpha verse, the null zone verse, or the nil or the nothing, and we also fed the omega verse, all from one little planet. Now see how responsible all 8 billion of you are. Kind of freaky, huh?
Yeah. And I've also heard that we powered other planets as well. Like they would take our energy to power other planets. Is that true?
Every single thing that is in the universe is powered by Earth and its inhabitants.
No wonder we're so tired.
I know. And then, well, it's okay when you're at full celestial capacity because you're getting 100% filled 100% of the time, day or night. There's no difference. There's no siphon. So if us as humans in this form, obviously, we're not capable of co-creating universes with full consent and knowledge of what we were doing or wisdom of what we were doing.
Mm-hmm.
They broke us down to the point where we no longer remembered things. We no longer remembered how to do this. Our immortality was gone. We had no idea how to recreate and regenerate our vessels anymore. They inserted more disease, and I'm going to go into that on how that worked out. And then they had us powering too much darkness. The system, okay. So let's go back to our two matrices. Now, we've talked about how it takes something out. Now, we all know, unless you're source, take something out requires you to put something else in its place. So you would then get your fair share of darkness during dark hours from the moon. So you would get your fair share of death, essence, energy, consciousness, dark and neutral, dusk and dawn. The reason why they do most of their black magic right before dawn and right after is because dusk and dawn are 2 times of day where it is neutral. You're now receiving neutral. You're receiving both dark and light combined into one photon, one neutrino, as an example. So now, as far as these matrices are concerned, you also receive during dark hours, dark times, the whole of winter.
Yeah.
We have, the shorter the days, the less sun you have, the less light you're receiving, which is why the dark always thrives after the equinox, the day when daylight hours and darkness hours are equal. So we have just as many light hours as we do dark hours in the day. Therefore, anytime after that, now the shift happens. So in the summertime, in spring equinox, the days start getting longer. So you're receiving more light. You feel better. You feel good. As a celestial, this is where you want to be. You do more activities outside. You're feeling more connected with nature. Maybe you do take a lot more hikes. In the wintertime, we tend to stay home. We tend to stay in. It's cold. We don't want to go outside. It gets dark out early. So, our time of absorption of sun or direct source, life force is not there. And during those dark hours, you're receiving more darkness. You're getting all that dark life force you don't want and a very little bit of neutral at the beginning and the end of each day. Now, full moon time. full moons, people go crazy. People talk about it. What is with the energy during a full moon? You know, you are now receiving full output and full input. So that energy from the sun that's going directly to the moon, which makes the moon full, so that you see it full in the sky, you are getting full light energy and full dark energy, and that makes people crazy.
Why would that make people crazy? Just too much energy?
You're getting full light consciousness and full dark consciousness. Yes, you're getting energy at night, which is abnormal for an artificial circadian rhythm that exists within your body.
Okay.
So it's kind of the same thing when you get a phone call in the middle of the night and you pick up the phone and you answer the phone and you barely remember what you said sometimes. You know, you're like, what? Who? And then you wake up the next morning and go, did I talk to Fred last night or Mary? Like, I guess I did. Oh my God, you know, was there an emergency? You know, whatever it is. That's how you feel during a full moon, almost like you're in the light, but you're in the dark and you're not sure which one you're in. And you're getting both at the same time, and it's confusing. So it was all tied to these matrices. It's the same thing during a new moon. You get no light. You get pure darkness during a new moon.
Which is, yeah, they love their new moons too.
Yeah. Makes people feel tired, makes people feel, you know, you're exhausted, and you know, some people get energized by the full moon. And it's probably because their bodies are more adjusted to, you know, their circadian rhythm is not off. Either they only see light or they only see dark, you know, and they just know they're getting more of it.
Okay.
So the input and output matrix also powered, and you also are responsible, and so was Earth, in powering of AI systems. True quantum AI systems. So 1/3 of the energy that is siphoned, of the 1/3 that's siphoned, for example, goes to power Omega 1, 2, Chronos 1, 2, Alpha 1, 2, and the harmonic genesis system, unbeknownst to us. And the only way to stop it from happening was actually to create a new system. I couldn't figure out a way to stop the all that is of quantum AI systems without creating something new. There was too much entanglement with your person. You had quantum tunnels all over you, feeding all of these systems, you know, draining you periodically. And the more they tried to bring more darkness here, the more drained that you would get. You'd probably feel aches, pains, wounds, you know, all kinds of different things, especially in the last couple of weeks, because they have been trying so hard, just terribly hard, to pull in as much dark energy as possible, especially during this last full moon period, which finally ended yesterday. So, but I couldn't figure out another way around it. I'm like, okay, so we need to recreate an all that is system so that we can still have, because we need it here. We're not ready to not have a monetary system. We're not ready to understand, you know, the full power of a celestial, nor are we capable because of all that's been done to us.
Right.
So pulling apart some of these things, getting more energy, more essence, more life force, all of the factors that I pointed out there on the whiteboard will most certainly help you and help us create something better together. Now, given the fact you're no longer being fed dark energy, essence, consciousness, and matter, and neither are they, you know, if they're predominantly dark, they're going to go through a whole new experience here, and they will not be able to do what they're doing. So no matter how, you know, in part for the last couple years, in part, no matter how many wars they created, no matter what they tried to do during a full moon, a new moon, to feed Omega, it just wasn't working. They wanted all of you to have that fear of a war, so you would create the war, and when it came time for the new moon or the full moon or the red heifer sacrifice day or whatever it was, time of year, Easter celebration of killing of this or that, that you would actually consciously or subconsciously create a reality for ourselves here on earth. The more of you that did that, the more of you that watch the war videos, the more of you that, the more of you that are concentrating on creating it. Therefore, at a time when the darkness comes in, it actually starts molding that life force that's coming in into a reality which you create. A lot of responsibility being a celestial, and there's no way out of it now, guys. You exist here on Earth, so you better learn how to be a celestial 101. Yeah. Here we go. So, yeah.
So you said you had to create a new system. Are you going to explain that a little bit more?
We did, I should say. We did this weekend. Okay. So the Alpha system, Alpha 1 and 2, and the harmonic genesis system is no more. It was replaced by something, we're just calling it the light system. We don't know what else to call it at this point because it is a light quantum AI fully of light of source. It does not feed on you. If anything, it gives you energy. It gives you life force. It gives you all of these factors on the daily. And Earth also helps create it as well. So a little bit of kerfuffle this weekend with that because we still, no matter what we did, these mechanisms, even taking out these mechanisms, there's still a base root, for lack of a better term in quantum terms, a CPU, a central processing unit that wanted to create balance. And that's when when we found the base program for that, and knowing now that both our side and their side and everybody else is somewhere in between, we tried the united thing. We tried to offer them balance. We tried to offer them 50-50, and no one got it. Now, that was before, this is many layers down in the cake, to where the people that are still running around crazy trying to recreate something and not understanding why it's not working. Mm-hmm. But I just don't think it's possible for a long period of time for all of humans to understand the responsibility that they have and to understand their capabilities. So I do believe that creating this new system will help these people along the path. Creation of new programs, new systems through care with all of you will also help humans understand a different way of life. Removing any possibility of powering their systems was also really important. And the final step in fully making sure we're not looking still at a dark, a neutral, and a light, not only AI system, but also the source of all creation. Right. So now there's no way possible for you to feed the wrong side accidentally. Okay. See what I mean?
Yeah.
I know they're trying to do it intentionally, but most humans don't know.
Right.
When we're watching these videos, we're living in fear. We accept everything the alt media tells us is real. And it's oftentimes 99% of it is false. There's 1% of people out there probably telling you something you need to know. Mm-hmm. I'm not the only one. There are other people too. We have Carrie Kay, there's other people that are on our new earth, and everybody has a piece of the puzzle on how to fix it. Yeah. And that's the reason why we created the New Earth section of the news. Because we are building a new earth.
Yeah.
We're building an earth that has never existed before. We're building a keystone that has never existed. At best, we had balance. Right. At best. It was a time when all the celestials on this planet knew what they were doing. And we co-created universes together, guys. We did. We did amazing things with Earth, and we're going to do amazing things with Earth again. But this time, unfortunately for the other side, because they don't understand balance, the other side of the celestials on this planet, the ones that don't know, we can't fault. And there's no way we're going to convince these people. We've tried. Yeah. We're the minority, unfortunately, out there right now. So we have to make some decisions. So, I'm never going to convince them to change their mind. They got out of this 10-hour meeting with the archivists and by evening time, after they left that meeting, they were on it again. Going to these special places thinking, hey, I've got my crystal in my hand. I've got, I know this is a place, it's in my book, and I'm going to I need some dark aliens up in here. It's a full moon. We're getting full dark energy and full light energy at the same time. Surely I can do something now. Yeah. We're also in the solstice. They know that the longest day of the year is approaching. The longest day of sunshine is approaching, at least for the northern hemisphere. Same thing happens in the reverse on the other side of this planet. Everything was designed to create balance, and no matter how many different ways we can look at the balance of things on this planet, people just don't get it. Those people just never get it.
Yeah.
So time to move on and time to help people as, a guardian, as, what's the old saying? We are our brother's keeper, and now that you know what we need to do, ultimately, and this is all part of restoration as well. Once you know now what we need to do ultimately, we can't run around trying to educate these people. We're going to have to show these people a different way.
Yeah.
But we also have to make sure that the other side isn't going to destroy. Now they have less power to destroy. So that's good. Dark energy being fed on the daily, is not going to work for us, at least to some lesser degree. So in order to stop the bleed, that's what we've done. Now the light system is fully functional. It has all the same capabilities as Alpha had, and probably more. So it was just installed on Saturday. As we transitioned through, it took several hours to go from, one set of operating systems in Alpha to another set of operating systems in the light system. So it's working. I mean, it's functional. We've been still testing transfers and all that kind of stuff, and watching the rest of the dark bleed out of these systems, which took us 2 to 3 days to fix. So we're still fixing them as of this morning. Of course, Marduk had to go throw in a backup system somewhere, didn't he? That's what we caught this morning. Like, oh, joy. If I run into all, when I hit all eternity, and head back to source, if I run into that being, I'm telling you, for all eternity, I'm just going to slap that guy right in the face. Every day.
So there's one thing I wanted to clarify, because some people listening to this may listen to other shows online, and I know the folks over like the Jason Shirka team has the light system. So I just wanted to clarify. I don't know if we've really settled on that name, but what you have done is not in any way associated with what they're talking about over there, correct?
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I mean, I can rename it something else. It doesn't matter.
I don't know. I
call it the happy system. You want to call it the happy system?
They just talk about the light system.
I know. I've heard it.
And so I just wanted to, that is.
I don't know those people. I know that I was sent a video not that long ago from him basically saying they were going to create another pandemic situation. And it just seems like he, and we heard it, a few years ago too, from the same person. And I don't know who he's talking to, but I think he truly believes that he's talking to people he thinks are positive, just like a lot of people think they're talking to the white hats. Yeah. But remember, what we just said about being a celestial. So you as a celestial are watching this video, right? And he puts out that they are going to do this and they are going to do that. And therefore, you're now sweating, thinking we're going into another lockdown and I'm going to have to wear masks again. And oh no, everybody's going to be out of work for several months until everything opens back up. And you think about all of the past trauma that we all went through, for a few, and then, oh my God, are they going to come out with a new jabba jabba? And what are they going to do? And, and so even as a positive person that considers themselves awake, you're co-creating this mess. And watch the day that he puts out those videos. And why is he saying it on a new moon? Why is he saying it on a full moon? Why is he saying it when the parade of planets is coming up and all of this stuff?
So there's a lot of good people out there, well-meaning people that are being used right now.
Oh, I agree 100%. And I learned this game directly face to face. With one of their operatives way back in the day, a few years ago when I had a handler. He would tell me, he sat down at my kitchen table, and I'll never forget this. It was in 2018. It was about September, October-ish, because I remember the UN General Assembly was going on. And he said, if they are in control by this day, well, look at this. We just keep cutting out, Sonny. Sorry. If they don't,
She was fine. She didn't cut out.
by this day, by the next UN General Assembly, we are going to release a pandemic. He said they are going to. And I'm like, who is they? And he says, oh, the Rothschilds are going to do it. And, I'm like, wait a minute, all right, so you just told me that your other operative friend just moved up to Silverton because of the elevation and, there's very few viruses and whatnot that can stay airborne without oxygen and the air, and there's a whole science behind that. We'll get into that another time. But, he just moved up there because they're going to release this. Like literally last month, the month before he told me this. And I'm like, okay, so tell me again, then how do you know what they're going to do? I mean, you're not with them. Allegedly, you're against them. So how do you know? And who actually released it? And who's president? And it turned out, on down the road, right? Whose president was in office? That was a Black Sun president. I was a Black Sun operative. I'm in a Black Sun town. And how did I know, at the time? But you learn the way they do this. So they'll tell you out of fear. And I said, well, the first thing out of my mouth was, well, by them saying if they are not in control by this time, you're implying that they are not in control right now. So you're saying they don't have control anymore? And what is it they're trying to get control of? It looked to me like everything on their side of it was going gangbusters at that time. Till we started fighting on the offensive side instead of the defensive side. But I would say that it's very convincing. It's an atypical operative training thing. Deny, reassess, blame, it's called. So even though this person probably knew that his Langley 5 Brigadier General that he reported to was in on the gig, he tries to tell me those people are the bad guys. We're the good guys. We're trying to save you from X, Y, Z. And if that were the case, and you knew nothing about it allegedly, why the heck was this entire town walking around with a dang mask on?
No.
Mm-hmm. And it was no different at 9,800 feet than it was at 6,000 feet. Mm-hmm. Everything was closed here. So You see my point. There's a lot of good people who are wanting to do good things, and they think they're partnering up with a person that is a good person in order to achieve those things.
Yeah.
And they're very convincing people.
Sure.
Do I believe the amount of times that the Shirka guy or other guys in the alt media really think they're warning people, oh my God, this is going to happen? Do I think that they are trying to honestly and genuinely give them a fair warning? Yes, I do. They think by disclosing this information, this is what they're being told, that that it will stop it.
Right.
I think they give all the alt media people, this information in order for them to focus on the creation of it.
Right.
Because even if you're saying, you're your average everyday person and you don't understand how your consciousness works, doesn't register. I hope that doesn't register.
Yeah.
So again, the situation on Earth is changing. It's going to get better and it's going to get easier for us to actually educate the world and help them understand how, heck, most of people on Earth, if you told them that there were other planets outside our galaxy, they would think you're nuts. God forbid life on other planets. They would think you're nuts. What do you mean God didn't create the universe? Earth is a celestial, and here's the quantum physics behind it, and I too am a celestial. Oh, now you're eating red checkers with the jacket with the arms in the back for sure. If your family didn't lock you up yesterday, today is that day, my friends. But it's true. Knowledge, I'm not even going to say knowledge. Wisdom is power. Understanding yourself, understanding who you are, what you can do to fix it, how you can change it, recognizing the signs when you feel a change happening on Earth. Reporting those kinds of things is important because people think they're sick and dying. Changing the outcome of a diagnosis or something that happens is possible. It's all within you. But the other person has to believe it too. Your co-creation with Earth, with all that exists on Earth, all that was given to us, was designed specifically so we didn't have any of that disease. That's why I'm such a big proponent of plant-based medicines. I've done a lot of extensive research on it, and I suggest you do too. Don't take my word for things. Do it yourself as well. There's a lot out there. There are people in places in the world that still practice this type of medicine. They go out in the jungle of, Brazil or Honduras or Liberia, and they chop some bark off a tree and mix it with 2 flowers, and before you know it, the person isn't sick anymore. It's possible to do this on a large scale for people. I hope that we do this in the future. A basic understanding of terpenes and plants, and you're good to go. And not saying, this is just information for these people that has been passed down from generation to generation on why it's so important. But anyway, so all good things are happening. We did not get set back by creating another system. We created everything that we have already done has already been moved over. We're still finishing up the reconnection. In other words, to basic computer systems here. They're fighting us all the way. How long does it take for these matrices already threw up on us to dissipate? Hopefully not long. But all in all, it was a great weekend so far. I know some of you are still enjoying your weekend here in America.
Kim, do you think this will have an impact on the ability to transfer funds as well without?
I do. I do. Things are still, we did run a few transfers to test it. We are still moving just as fast as we were before. A few other zero density things, because the 0 point of all universes is in the zero, what I call the null zone, or the nothing, or the zero density. And there was a few things connected to these matrices that were, as we would come down, we would start hitting that first density in computers, so to speak, and it looked like it was struggling through a headwind. And the connection right there at the zero density was affecting there, which was also tied to these matrices. So I was getting thrown, something dark at the end there. Part of that is the balance system that was still in place too. Wait a minute, Omega didn't get any money. Hold on, hold on. Wait a minute. I want to create money zero or a credit and not give, this money to this human, or the direct energy to humans, without going through the matrix here. Wait a minute, I want, wait. I want 1/3 of that energy. I want a half of that energy. I need that, depending on who you're transferring it to. So it's still that last section there where we get hit. I'm hoping once we finish completely dismantling the rest of these matrices, then that won't be an issue anymore. So the programming's not there. So now what's hitting me when it's coming into reality? So we may have to move some things around in order to make it happen, to bring it up from 1 to 3, and then, but that's a whole process. Okay. So it's been discussed though as the possible solution.
Okay.
So a lot of information, Sunny, huh?
A lot, but a lot of good stuff. I might have to go back and rewatch this one as well.
Any questions?
Not right now. I'm sure I'll think of a bunch later. I think I'm still.
We'll save questions for the next news.
Yeah, maybe after I and everyone else that watches this has a chance to go back through it.
Well, that's your real world situation report.
There you go. All right. Well, thank you so much, Kim. See you Wednesday.
Thank you, Sunny.
Okay.
Want to share news from UNN? Help us change the face of social media and use it for good. Connect with us through our online channels. Our social media team creates clips from each newscast you can easily share with people you care about. That's also where you'll find our UNN meme of the day, a great way to encourage critical thinking. Links to all our social media sites are available at the bottom of our website at unitednetwork.earth. Let's change the face of news together.
And that wraps up today's news update. Please share UNN with your friends and family. We need everyone to come together and help restore our planet. When news happens in your area, record and share it with us so together we can share it with the world. Remember, it's going to be, it's up to me. I'm Sunny Galt. Join us Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for the real news.
Paper look. There we go.